Listen carefully. If you ever go camping alone in the desert and someone whistles outside your tent after midnight, don't answer. Don't look outside. And whatever you do, don't follow the sound. Because in the Arizona desert, when something calls to you at night, it usually isn't human. My name is Caleb, and this happened 3 years ago during a solo camping trip in Arizona. I've always liked being alone outdoors. Road trips, hiking, camping far away from people. Something about silence always relaxed me. At least it used to. That trip started normally. I drove deep into the desert near an isolated camping area, a few hours outside Flagstaff. Very remote place. Barely any signal. Just sand, rock formations, and endless empty land. Exactly what I wanted. I reached the campsite around sunset. The sky looked beautiful. Orange light over the mountains. Cold wind moving across the desert. Honestly, it felt peaceful. There were only 2 other campsites nearby. One RV parked far down the trail, and one empty tent site closer to mine. That was it. No crowds. No noise. Just silence. I set up my tent, started a small fire, and spent the night eating chili and listening to music. Everything felt normal at first. Then around 11 p.m., I noticed something strange. The desert suddenly became completely quiet. No wind, no insects, nothing. The silence felt heavy somehow, like the entire desert stopped breathing. Now listen carefully, because this is where things started feeling wrong. I was sitting near the fire when I heard footsteps nearby, very soft footsteps crunching over sand and rock. I looked around immediately. Nothing there. The darkness outside the firelight looked endless. I stood up slowly. "Hello," I called out. No answer. The footsteps stopped too. I waited for a few seconds. Silence again. I figured maybe it was another camper walking nearby. So I sat back down. Then suddenly, a whistle echoed through the desert. Low, slow, very far away. It sounded almost human, but something about it felt wrong. The whistle repeated again a few seconds later. Closer this time. A cold feeling settled in my chest. I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it toward the darkness beyond the campsite. Nothing, just rocks and empty desert. Then the whistle came again, even closer. My stomach tightened. That's when I noticed something terrifying. The whistle wasn't random. It was copying the small tune I had been humming earlier beside the fire. Exact same rhythm, exact same pauses. My hands slowly tightened around the flashlight. No way that was a coincidence. "Who's there?" I shouted louder this time. No response. Then suddenly, from somewhere behind me, I heard another whistle answer back. Much closer, right near my tent. I spun around instantly. The firelight flickered across the campsite, but nobody was there. My heart started pounding now. Fast, heavy. Then I heard movement again. Footsteps circling the campsite slowly. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Not rushing, just walking around me, watching. The fire suddenly felt way too small. The darkness beyond it felt alive somehow. Then the whistle returned again, this time directly behind me. So close it sounded like someone standing only a few feet away. I turned around immediately with the flashlight, and for 1 second, I saw someone standing between the rocks beyond the campsite. Tall figure, completely still, too far away to see clearly, but definitely watching me. Then the flashlight flickered once, and the figure disappeared. My chest tightened hard. Now listen, this is the moment I should have packed my stuff and left immediately. But instead, I convinced myself it was probably another camper messing with me. So I zipped myself inside the tent and tried to ignore it. Big mistake. The fire outside slowly died lower and lower. The inside of the tent became colder. I kept hearing movement outside. Slow footsteps circling around the tent. Sometimes close, sometimes farther away. Then around 1:13 a.m., everything stopped. Complete silence again. I stared at the roof of the tent trying to calm down. That's when I heard breathing. Very slow breathing. Directly outside the tent wall beside my head. I froze completely. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. The breathing stayed there for almost 10 seconds. Then suddenly, a voice whispered softly from outside the tent. "You shouldn't camp here alone." My entire body locked up. That voice! It came from right outside the tent, only inches from my head. You shouldn't camp here alone. The voice sounded low, calm, almost friendly, but something about it felt completely wrong, not natural. Now listen carefully, because this is where the real nightmare started. I stayed completely still inside the sleeping bag. Try not to breathe too loudly. Outside the tent, silence returned. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. Then slowly, I reached for my flashlight beside me, hands shaking badly. I pointed it toward the tent wall. At first, nothing. Then suddenly, a shadow moved across the outside fabric. Tall, way too tall. The shape slowly circled the tent, its footsteps soft against the sand. Crunch, crunch, crunch. My heart pounded so hard I thought it could hear me. Then the shadow stopped moving, right outside the entrance zipper. I stared at the tent door frozen in fear. And slowly, something pressed against the fabric from outside. A hand, long fingers pushing gently into the tent wall. My stomach dropped instantly. Then another hand appeared higher up. Whoever, or whatever, was outside, was leaning against the tent, listening. The flashlight shook badly in my hand. Then the voice whispered again. You heard the whistle. Cold chills exploded through my body. I didn't answer, couldn't answer. The thing outside stayed silent for several seconds. Then suddenly, it started walking again. Slow circles around the tent. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And every few seconds, that same whistle echoed through the desert, closer each time, then farther away. Then somehow, right beside me again. It didn't make sense, like the sound was moving too fast, faster than a person could walk. Then everything stopped, complete silence. I waited for almost a full minute. Nothing. That's when I made the mistake. I looked outside. I slowly unzipped the tent just enough to peek through. The campsite was empty. The fire outside was almost dead now, only red embers glowing weakly. The desert beyond looked endless and black. No figure, no movement, nothing. I exhaled shakily. Maybe whoever was finally left. Then suddenly, a whistle sounded directly behind me inside the tent. I spun around screaming. Nobody there. But the sound came from inside the tent. My chest tightened, so hard it hurt. Then the flashlight died instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. I heard breathing again, this time inside the tent with me. Close, way too close. Then something touched the back of my sleeping bag softly. I snapped. I grabbed my knife and burst out of the tent into the freezing desert air. I stumbled across the campsite, breathing hard. The moonlight barely lit the rocks around me. Then I heard footsteps again, not near the tent this time, farther out in the desert. Like something was slowly walking away. And then the whistle returned, far away now, almost calling to me. My brain kept screaming at me to get in the truck and leave. But something else happened instead. Something I still can't explain. Part of me wanted to follow it. That whistle, it felt wrong, but also strangely familiar somehow. Like hearing someone call your name from another room. I actually took a few steps toward the darkness before stopping myself. That's when I noticed something terrifying in the sand. Footprints. Large footprints circling my campsite. But they weren't normal. The prints were backwards. Like whatever made them had feet facing the wrong direction. Cold chills spread through my entire body. Then suddenly, I heard another whistle behind me. Very close. I turned fast with my knife raised. And for 1 second, I saw it standing near the rocks beyond my campsite. Tall, thin, its arms hanging unnaturally low, its face hidden in darkness. But its smile reflected white in the moonlight, way too wide. Then it tilted its head slowly and copied my own voice perfectly. Help me? My blood ran cold instantly because I recognized the voice. It sounded exactly like me. I ran straight for my truck, didn't grab my camping gear, didn't look back. I jumped inside and locked the doors immediately. As my headlights lit up the campsite, I froze. There were figures standing around my tent, at least 5 or 6 of them, tall shadows motionless in the dark, watching my truck, watching me. Then one of them slowly raised an arm and pointed toward the desert behind me. That's when I heard the whistle one final time. right beside my driver's side window. I slammed on the gas instantly. The truck fishtailed across the sand before hitting the main dirt road. I drove for almost an hour before stopping, hands shaking the entire time. The next morning, I reported what happened to a ranger station nearby. The older ranger listened quietly without interrupting. Then he asked me something strange. "Did you hear whistling?" My stomach tightened instantly. "How did you know that?" The ranger sighed softly, then looked out toward the desert. "People disappear out there sometimes." Cold chills spread through me again. "What was it?" I whispered. The ranger stayed silent for a few seconds, then quietly said something I'll never forget. "Out here." He swallowed hard. "When something whistles back at you after dark, you never whistle back." Listen carefully. If you ever hike the Appalachian Trail alone, and you hear footsteps matching yours deep in the woods, stop walking immediately, because sometimes the thing following you isn't another hiker, and if it keeps following after dark, you need to leave the trail fast. My name is Ryan, and this happened during a solo hiking trip in the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee. I've always loved hiking, especially isolated trails. No traffic, no phones, no people, just trees and silence. That trip was supposed to last 3 days. Simple backpacking trip through a quiet section of the trail before winter started. At least, that was the plan. The first day went completely normal. Cold air, beautiful mountains, a few hikers passing occasionally. Nothing unusual. I reached my campsite around sunset, near a wooded ridge overlooking the valley below. Perfect spot. I set up my tent beside the trail and started cooking dinner before it got dark. By 8 p.m., the woods became completely silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. The silence felt strange, too heavy somehow. But honestly, that happens in deep woods sometimes. At least that's what I told myself. Then around 9:30 p.m., I heard footsteps nearby. Very slow footsteps crunching through leaves somewhere beyond the trees. At first I figured it was another hiker, maybe someone looking for a campsite. So I called out casually, "Hey!" The footsteps stopped instantly. Silence. I waited a few seconds. Nothing. Then the footsteps started again. Slow, careful, circling the campsite now. Crunch, crunch, crunch. My chest tightened slightly. "Hello?" I called louder. No answer. The footsteps stopped again immediately. Now listen carefully, because this is where things started feeling wrong. I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it toward the trees. Nothing there, just endless woods and darkness. Then suddenly, I heard a twig snap behind me. I turned quickly, and for 1 second, I saw someone standing between the trees about 50 feet away. Tall figure, completely still, too dark to see clearly, but definitely watching me. "Hey, you okay?" I shouted. No response. The figure didn't move, didn't react, just stood there. Then my flashlight flickered once, and when the beam steadied again, the figure was gone. A cold feeling settled in my stomach immediately. I backed toward my tent slowly, trying to stay calm, trying to think logically. Probably another camper messing around. That's what I kept telling myself. Then the footsteps returned, closer now, walking slowly around my campsite. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Not hiding anymore, like it wanted me to hear it. Then suddenly, I heard something worse. Another set of footsteps behind me, different direction. My heartbeat sped up instantly. There were 2 of them now, one circling to my left, another somewhere behind the trees. Neither one speaking, neither one using lights. Then from deep in the woods, I heard whistling, low, soft, a strange tune echoing between the trees. The sound sent chills down my spine immediately, because it didn't sound human. The rhythm felt wrong somehow, too perfect. Then another whistle answered from farther away. Then another. My breathing turned shaky. There were multiple people out there, or at least, that's what I thought. The campfire suddenly felt way too small. The darkness beyond it felt endless now. Then the footsteps stopped completely. Silence again. I stared into the woods trying to listen. That's when I noticed something terrifying. The forest itself felt wrong now. No wind, no animal sounds. Nothing moving except me. Then suddenly, a voice whispered softly from the darkness behind the trees. Ryan! My blood ran cold instantly. I froze completely. I never told anyone my name out there. My heart nearly stopped. That voice came from deep in the woods. Soft, barely above a whisper, but it clearly said my name. Ryan. Cold chills spread through my entire body. I stood frozen beside the fire, staring into the darkness. How do you know my name? I shouted nervously. No answer, only silence. Then slowly, the footsteps started again. Crunch, 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 moving through the trees around my campsite. Not rushing, almost pacing, like something was studying me. Now listen carefully, because this is where I realized I was in serious danger. I grabbed my flashlight and swept it across the woods again. The beam shook badly in my hand. Nothing there at first. Then the light passed between two trees and caught a face staring at me. Pale skin, sunken eyes, wide smile. The figure stood perfectly still in the darkness, too far away to fully see, but close enough to know it was watching me. I stumbled backward instantly. The flashlight beam moved away for half a second. When I pointed it back, the figure was gone. Then another whistle echoed through the woods, closer this time. Then another answered farther away. Then another behind me. My chest tightened. There were too many sounds now, too many footsteps, and none of them sounded human anymore. Then suddenly, I heard movement directly beside my tent. Fast movement, like something sprinting past the campsite. I spun around quickly. Nothing there, but the side of my tent moved slightly, like someone brushed against it. That's when I noticed fresh, muddy footprints beside the fire. Large footprints. Too large. And just like the desert story you heard earlier, the footprints were backwards. My stomach dropped instantly. Then the voice whispered again from the woods. Come here. This time it sounded different. Not deep anymore. Now it sounded exactly like my younger brother. My blood ran cold instantly. My brother lived 3 states away. There was no possible way it could have been him. Then the voice came again. Closer now. Ryan, help me. I snapped. I started throwing my gear into my backpack as fast as possible. I didn't care about the campsite anymore. I just wanted off that mountain. The fire crackled weakly beside me while darkness surrounded the trail. Then suddenly, I heard running. Fast footsteps crashing through the woods toward me. Multiple sets, coming from every direction. I grabbed my flashlight and backed away from the campsite. Then I saw them, figures between the trees. Tall shadows moving unnaturally fast through the forest. Too thin, too tall. Their heads tilted strangely while they moved. One stopped behind a tree only 20 feet away. The flashlight caught part of its face. Pale skin, huge smile, eyes completely black. Then it copied my own voice perfectly. Don't run. I turned and sprinted down the trail immediately. Branches hit my face while I ran through the dark woods. My backpack bounced hard against my shoulders. Behind me, I could hear footsteps chasing me through the forest. Fast, way too fast. And every few seconds, the whistling echoed again between the trees. Closer each time. Then suddenly, all the sound stopped. No footsteps, no whistles, nothing. I slowed slightly, breathing hard. That's when my flashlight caught something ahead on the trail. A hiker, standing motionless in the middle of the path. An older man wearing a backpack and hiking clothes. Relief hit me instantly. Thank God. I whispered. I rushed toward him. You need to help me, I said breathlessly. The man didn't answer, didn't move. Then slowly, he raised one hand and pointed toward the woods beside the trail. I followed his finger with the flashlight, and my blood ran cold. Dozens of pale faces stared back at me from between the trees. Motionless, smiling, watching silently. I stumbled backward in horror. Then the old hiker finally spoke softly without looking at me. You let them follow you. Before I could answer, every face in the woods disappeared at once. Gone, like they were never there. The old man slowly turned toward me. His face looked terrified now. Run, he whispered. I didn't ask questions. We both sprinted down the trail together in complete darkness. For nearly 20 minutes, we heard footsteps following us through the woods on both sides, sometimes close enough to hear breathing. sometimes far away, but always there. Eventually, we reached a ranger station near the lower trail entrance just before sunrise. The old hiker looked shaken badly. The ranger opened the door and immediately noticed our faces. "What happened?" he asked. The old man answered before I could speak. He heard the whistles. The ranger went silent instantly, then slowly looked at me. "You answered them?" I nodded weakly. The ranger sighed heavily, then quietly said something I'll never forget. "People disappear out there every year." Cold chills spread through me again. What were those things? I whispered. The ranger looked toward the dark mountains outside the station windows, then said softly, "The locals have a rule on these trails." He paused. "If something in the woods calls your name after dark," his voice lowered, "no matter who it sounds like, don't answer back. Listen carefully. If you ever get separated from the trail inside a national park and suddenly realize the forest has gone completely silent, turn around immediately, because sometimes you don't leave the trail by accident. Sometimes something wants you lost. My name is Mason, and this happened during a hiking trip in Colorado at Rocky Mountain National Park. I still can't explain those 4 hours, and honestly, I don't think I want to. The trip started completely normal. Clear weather, busy trails, families everywhere. Nothing creepy, nothing unusual. I was hiking alone that morning because my friends canceled last minute. No big deal. I'd done solo hikes plenty of times before. Around noon, I reached a less crowded trail deeper into the park. Beautiful area, tall pine trees, rocky cliffs, streams running beside the trail. Perfect hiking weather. I remember stopping several times just to take pictures. Everything felt peaceful. Then around 2 p.m., I noticed something strange. The trail ahead suddenly became empty. Not just quiet. Empty. No hikers. No voices. Nothing. Which felt weird because the trail had been busy earlier. At first, I didn't think much about it, until I realized something else. The forest had gone silent too. No birds. No wind. No insects. Just complete silence. That heavy, unnatural silence. Now listen carefully, because this is where everything started going wrong. I stopped walking and checked my phone. No signal. Not surprising out there. But then I noticed the time. 2:17 p.m. A few minutes later, I checked again. Still 2:17. I frowned. The screen froze briefly before working again. Probably bad reception. That's what I told myself. Then I heard something behind me. Footsteps. Saw footsteps crunching on gravel somewhere back on the trail. Relief hit me instantly. Finally, another hiker. I turned around expecting to see someone coming. Nobody there. The trail behind me was empty, but the footsteps continued. Crunch, 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 slowly getting closer. My chest tightened immediately. "Hello?" I called out. The footsteps stopped. Silence again. Then suddenly, a whistle echoed through the trees. Low, short, almost playful. Cold chills ran through my body instantly. I remembered hearing stories online about hikers disappearing in forests after hearing whistles. I tried to laugh it off, tried to stay logical. But deep down, something felt wrong. Really wrong. I started walking faster down the trail. That's when I noticed something terrifying. The trail looked unfamiliar now. Completely unfamiliar. I stopped walking immediately. I know that section of trail hadn't been there earlier. The trees looked different too. Thicker somehow. Closer together. Even the air felt colder. I checked my GPS app quickly. The map glitched violently for a second. Then the trail marker disappeared completely. According to the app, I wasn't on any trail anymore. My stomach dropped instantly. That made no sense. I never left the path. Then suddenly, I heard another whistle. Closer this time. Followed by footsteps somewhere in the trees beside me, matching my pace exactly. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Every time I walked faster, the footsteps matched me perfectly. My breathing turned shaky now. I grabbed my bear spray and kept moving. Then I saw someone ahead on the trail, a park ranger, standing completely still between the trees. Relief hit me instantly. I almost laughed. Finally, I started walking toward him quickly, But something felt wrong immediately. The ranger wasn't moving, wasn't blinking, just standing there staring at me. Then slowly, he smiled, way too wide. My feet stopped instantly. The ranger's face looked pale, wrong somehow. Then in a voice that sounded distorted and uneven, he said, "You walked too far." The second that ranger smiled, every instinct in my body screamed at me to run. Something about him looked completely wrong. His face was pale, too pale, and his smile stretched unnaturally wide across his face. "You walked too far." The way he said it didn't sound human. The words came out uneven, like someone learning how to speak for the first time. I slowly backed away from the trail. The ranger didn't move, didn't blink, just stared directly at me. Then suddenly, I heard another whistle behind me in the woods, very close this time. I turned quickly. Nothing there. When I looked back toward the trail again, the ranger was gone, completely gone. No footsteps, no sound, just empty trail. My chest tightened instantly. Now listen carefully, because this is where the nightmare became impossible to explain. I started walking fast in the opposite direction, trying to retrace my steps, trying to stay calm. But after nearly 10 minutes, I realized something terrifying. The trail kept leading me back to the same place. Same broken tree stump, same bent trail sign, same pile of rocks beside the path. No matter which direction I walked, I somehow returned there again. My breathing became shaky. I checked my phone. Still 2:17 p.m. My blood ran cold instantly. There was no way that was possible. Then suddenly, I heard voices in the woods nearby. People talking softly. Relief hit me again. Maybe other hikers. I rushed toward the sound between the trees. "Hey!" I shouted. The voices stopped immediately. Then silence. I pushed deeper into the forest, searching for them. That's when I realized I couldn't see the trail anymore. Only trees. Endless trees. Panic started rising in my chest. I turned around quickly, trying to retrace my steps. But every direction looked the same now. That heavy silence returned again. No birds. No wind. Nothing. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Crunch. 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 Slow footsteps moving through the forest. Following me, I spun around fast, holding the bear spray. Nobody there. Then suddenly, something moved between the trees to my left. Fast movement. Too fast. A tall shadow disappearing behind the trunks. I started backing away immediately. Then another shadow moved to my right. Then another behind me. The woods around me suddenly felt crowded, like I wasn't alone anymore. My heartbeat pounded painfully hard. Then the whistling started again. One whistle ahead of me, another behind me, then another somewhere deep in the trees, surrounding me completely. Then came the voices, soft whispers echoing through the forest. "Mason! Mason!" Cold chills exploded through my body. They knew my name. Then suddenly, I heard my mother's voice crying somewhere ahead. "Mason, help me!" I froze instantly. My mom lived in another state. There was no possible way it could be her. But the voice sounded exactly like her, crying, terrified. "Please help me." For a second, I almost ran toward it. Then I remembered the ranger's face. That smile, that voice. Something in these woods was copying people. The crying suddenly stopped. Then came laughter instead. Low, distorted laughter echoing between the trees. My blood ran cold. Then I saw them, figures standing silently between the trees around me. Tall, thin, motionless, their faces too pale against the dark forest. One slowly stepped forward into clearer view. Its arms hung unnaturally low beside its body, and its smile stretched impossibly wide. Then it copied my own voice perfectly. "You walked too far." I snapped. I started running blindly through the forest. Branches hit my face while I crashed through the trees. Behind me, I heard multiple footsteps sprinting after me. Fast. Way too fast. The whistles echoed everywhere now. Closer. Closer. Then suddenly, I burst into a clearing and froze. Right in front of me stood the same ranger again. Exactly where he had been earlier. Same smile. Same blank eyes. Only this time, there were 3 more standing beside him. All identical. All smiling. My entire body locked up in terror. Then all four of them spoke together at the same time. "You're not supposed to leave." The forest around me suddenly went pitch silent. Then every figure in the clearing tilted their heads slowly toward me at the exact same angle. And behind them, more pale faces started appearing between the trees. Dozens of them, watching silently. I stumbled backward in panic. Then suddenly, a loud whistle exploded somewhere nearby. Not human, loud enough to shake through the trees. Every figure in the clearing instantly stopped moving. Their smiles disappeared completely. Then all of them slowly turned toward the woods behind me, like something worse had arrived. And for the first time, they looked afraid. The next thing I remember, I woke up lying beside the real hiking trail, surrounded by park rangers. The sun was setting. One ranger was shaking my shoulder, asking if I could hear him. I sat up confused and checked my phone immediately. 6:42 p.m. Over 4 hours gone. My clothes were muddy, my arms covered in scratches, and my hiking backpack was missing completely. The ranger looked relieved when I woke up. "You vanished for hours," he said. "We've been searching everywhere." My throat felt dry. "What happened to me?" I whispered. The older ranger beside him stayed silent for a few seconds, then quietly asked, "Did you hear whistling?" Cold chills spread through my entire body again. I nodded slowly. The ranger looked away toward the forest, then softly said something I'll never forget. "People disappear in these parks all the time." He paused. "And the ones who come back," his voice lowered, "usually come back different." That night at the ranger station, they returned my phone and belongings. But one thing still terrifies me to this day. When I checked the photos on my phone later that night, there was one picture I never took. A blurry photo deep inside the forest, taken at exactly 2:17 p.m. And standing between the trees in the distance was me, smiling. If these stories made your heart race tonight, don't forget to hit that like button before you turn the lights off. Smiling face with horns. And tell me in the comments, which story scared you the most? Desert, the Arizona desert. Evergreen tree, the Appalachian Trail. Fearful face, or the missing hours in the national park. And subscribe now, because the next story I upload might be the one that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. So lock your doors, check the dark corners of your room, and I'll see you in the next nightmare. Bye.